So at the time of recording this video, yesterday night, we finally had another big summer PlayStation showcase. After 2 years of nothing but state of plays, it finally returned. So of course, there was a lot of hype surrounding this in the community. Even disregarding all the rumors that come naturally with a showcase, the hype was insane. Because while state of plays are fine, they're usually pretty hit or miss, having like one big announcement per livestream, but showcases are always heavy hitters. If you just look at the history of the PlayStation showcases, they're always iconic. Like in the last one from 2 years ago, we got the Spider-Man 2 reveal, a Knights of the Old Republic remake reveal, Stellar Blade, God of War Ragnarok, Wolverine, all of that in one showcase. So was this new showcase able to live up to that hype? Yeah, let's talk about that. At first, I wasn't even sure whether or not I should make a video on this, but considering that I made a video on Sony's state of play problem that I call it, I thought it would be worth talking about, just to see how the situation has changed, because in that video, I laid out a few problems that I see with how PlayStation has been handling their state of plays and showcases lately, and I just thought it would be interesting to take a look at that now that we had another showcase. But before we get into that, if you like this video, be sure to leave a like or a comment, and if you want more videos like this, why not subscribe? I make discussion videos, reviews, just anything about gaming really, and all your support is greatly appreciated. Also, if you leave a like or a comment, I can see what type of content you all like. But with that out of the way, let's talk about this showcase. And to start off, I immediately kinda wanna say that the showcase, for me personally, and for a lot of other people, did not live up to the expectations. I saw this tweet from MBG that summarizes it pretty well, and it says, "We went in not knowing anything, and we left not knowing anything." Of course, that's not to say that this showcase was bad, just a bit underwhelming, I think is the best way to say it. But let's start off with the positives first, because the showcase definitely wasn't bad. One thing that immediately became clear during the showcase is that PlayStation is addressing the criticism of them not having enough multiplayer games, because a lot of people say that PlayStation only has cinematic, narrative-driven single-player games, and while that's fine, a bit of variety would always be nice. So it was cool to see that during the showcase they showed off a few of their first-party studios that they newly acquired for this very reason. So they showed the new IP from Bungie that they've been working on, and this other game that looks oddly similar to Splatoon. Now, that game was a Square Enix game, but still, PlayStation Showcase showing more multiplayer-focused games. And this was pretty interesting. I'm personally not too big on multiplayer games, I only play a few of them every now and then, but it's just cool to see that PlayStation is extending their horizons and that they're trying out new things, especially after acquiring so many multiplayer studios. It was a bit sad though that most of these trailers were CGI with minimal gameplay, but let's talk about that point later. Continuing to talk about the first-party studios though, the only other PlayStation studio that showed their hand and that wasn't showing multiplayer games was Insomniac, with finally some more Spider-Man 2 footage. This was PlayStation's way to end the show, and honestly, what a fucking fantastic way to go out. I loved basically everything about this trailer. Like the whole beginning part that had me guessing, what am I even watching? I was expecting Spider-Man, but what is this? Is this a new IP? Is this Wolverine maybe? But then this guy shows up and I was just like, wait, he kinda looks like Kraven, only to reveal New York City, Spider-Man in the black Venom suit, cuts to gameplay with Spider-Man doing some new brutal combos, using his new powers, switching to Miles gameplay, slinging through the city, which looks absolutely gorgeous, using the new wing glide suit thing, going really fast, moving into some stealth gameplay, followed by the lizard, and then a chase set piece that was constantly switching between Miles and Peter, who was still in his black suit. I loved every second of this. Maybe it was a tad too long, but I don't know, the showcase of the Spider-Man gameplay, it was beautiful. We got a nice CGI trailer revealing a bit more of the story, followed by pure gameplay. That was definitely my personal highlight of the show. Next to one other announcement, which happened, I think it was around the middle of the show, which wasn't a first party announcement, and which didn't show gameplay sadly, but it was still a really great reveal. The freaking Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, followed by a Metal Gear Solid collection, which is honestly just fantastic. This was definitely supposed to be the big surprise announcement that every showcase usually has a few of. It is a bit of a shame though that so many rumors were around this, like I feel like everyone kind of felt like it was coming, everyone kind of knew about it, but still, Metal Gear Solid is a really iconic series. It's great to see it back, even without Kojima, which is a little bit weird. Let's just hope Konami doesn't fuck this up. But if Konami does fuck it up, they're porting the collection with 1, 2, and 3, so we'll have the OGs right there. All in all, a really great announcement for the Metal Gear stuff. But those were basically my only highlights. Of course, there was some other cool third-party things, like Alan Wake 2 looked cool, a Grand Blue trailer, the reveal of this Phantom Blade game, which looked really interesting, yet another Final Fantasy 16 trailer, but hey, that trailer was fucking sick, I'm not complaining, and some more smaller titles like you have in basically every showcase, some looking cooler than others. And then the last thing that I do want to mention about the positives is just the basic structure of the showcase. There wasn't too many time-wasty things of someone comes on screen and talks about their game for way too long and bullshit filler like that. It was just announcement, game. But that then also kinda brings me to the bad things about the showcase, which is that while the structure of it was pretty good and it had some good announcements, it kinda failed at showing what's next for the PS5. In official interviews and online, the showcase was kinda set up to show what's next for this generation, where the previous showcase was pretty much at the start of the generation, still having a lot of cross-gen games. This showcase was supposed to kick off the generation fully, to show what's coming now that we finally left the PS4 and the previous generation behind. But that's just not what happened here at all. It's like I said earlier, we didn't know what the PlayStation studios were up to before the showcase, and now after the showcase we still don't really know. Besides for some multiplayer studios, and besides for Spider-Man, which we already knew about for like 2 years, we still don't know anything. Like, what's the new IP from Studio Bend, or what's that new IP from Cory Barlog at Santa Monica? I don't know, what's that remake that Bluepoint keeps teasing? Is it Bloodborne? Is it Legend of Dragoon? Who knows? What's Naughty Dog working on next to Factions? Or what does Factions even look like? What is Sucker Punch doing? There is so much that we don't know. And everyone expected this showcase to finally shed some light on that. It's not like I was expecting all of these things to show up, of course, but at least one of them, even if it was just a small teaser like what we got with Wolverine. And even outside of the things that we don't know, there are also a lot of games that we know about but that weren't shown. Stuff like Death Stranding 2, The Last of Us Factions, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Stellar Blade. I feel like everyone was expecting gameplay or at least another trailer for at least one of these games. But there just wasn't enough first-party stuff. PlayStation has a lot of studios who are all working on something, but all we got was Spider-Man 2 gameplay. And yeah, the gameplay looked incredible, but we've known about Spider-Man for a while, and we didn't even get a release date. It's still that fall 2023 window, which isn't really a problem in itself. It's better to not give a date if you're not sure about it, but it kind of felt like the showcase was being heavily carried by Metal Gear and Spider-Man 2, so it would have just been nice to have a release date. And even out of all the other stuff that was shown, I feel like we barely got any release dates here. Just like barely anything showed gameplay. Which ties back to what I was saying earlier with the new multiplayer IPs. It's cool that PlayStation is doing multiplayer games, but almost all of them were just CG trailers with no information outside of a title and what you could see in those trailers. Like, oh, I guess this is a heist game with online co-op. Oh, this looks, I don't know, it's a Bungie game. Multiplayer, maybe PvE, looks pretty futuristic, but like, we didn't get gameplay, we didn't even get that much information. Which then brings me to the last thing that I really didn't like about the showcase, and another thing that PlayStation ended the showcase with. The new handheld console. There's not much to say about this. It's kind of a DualSense controller that they cut in half, and they put a screen in the middle of it. But it's not really a handheld like a PSP or the PS Vita. It's not even a real console. It's just a remote play device, but you can just connect to remote play with your phone. I don't really know who this is for. I don't really see this being that successful either. It sounds pretty useless to me. Basically a Wii U, but worse, I guess. But that was it. That was basically the showcase. But the thing is, if you look at it in a vacuum, it wasn't that bad. It just could have been a lot better, and it was a really, really weird showcase to have after the 2-year break. It also kinda just felt like a big state of play, because a lot of the stuff shown here felt like it was for state of play, and the only really big things was, again, Metal Gear and Spider-Man. So, I don't know, why wasn't this just a state of play? If this was like a 30-minute state of play with Metal Gear and Spider-Man, this would have been probably one of the best state of plays, but now, as a showcase, it's probably one of the worst, just because it has the name PlayStation Showcase attached to it, and that brings a lot of expectations with it, and rightfully so, but it just couldn't live up to that. And because it was a showcase, they also kind of had to stretch it out, make it longer than the standard 30-minute state of play. And while I did say that the structure of it was good, the content, I don't know, some trailers kind of felt like filler, especially that Gran Turismo movie trailer. I don't know what that was doing there. I just don't really see why they felt the need to turn this into a showcase. Maybe it's because people were asking for a showcase for so long? Which, I mean, yeah, we were asking for one, even I was asking for one, but as I said, this didn't feel like a showcase. It's not just good enough to put out a livestream, call it a showcase, and everyone will be happy. When people are asking for a showcase, we're asking for the quality of a showcase. And this just wasn't it. There's a reason why so many people were disappointed. Even if the showcase wasn't that bad on paper, we got Spider-Man, new multiplayer IPs, Metal Gear Solid, stuff like Phantom Blade, Grand Blue, Dragon's Dogma, and other stuff like that. But I don't know, when the showcase ended, I was just left with a, oh, that's it feeling. Like, yeah, now looking back on it, it wasn't that bad, but it gave me the feeling of, oh, that's a cool trailer, instead of, holy shit, which is usually the feeling that you would have after a showcase. Especially after the 2021 showcase or after an E3 showcase. But now, as a final talking point, I'm kinda just wondering, what's next? And I don't mean to sound like, what the fuck Sony, that sucks, we need better stuff and give us more soon. I mean it in the way of, we still don't know anything. Spider-Man is set to release in September-October time. We have no idea what's coming in 2024 besides for Wolverine. So the question is just exactly the same as the question that we had before the showcase. When will PlayStation finally reveal what they're working on? The summer season of game announcements has just begun, so maybe we'll see some first-party games at Summer Games Fest maybe? Because they have confirmed that PlayStation will be there, and I can see some games like Death Stranding 2 or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth show up at the Jeff Keighley Summer Games Fest show, but that still leaves the other studios. Will they wait a bit longer and do another showcase in December? Like when they used to do PlayStation experiences? They haven't done one of those in years though, so I think it's unlikely, but I feel like it would be great to have a showcase at the end of the year and one in summer when necessary. Like now, I feel like almost every PlayStation fan thinks that it's necessary for another showcase, even though we just had one, because again, we don't know anything. We don't know what's next. Before the showcase, everyone was expecting them to reveal all that they had here. So we wouldn't need another showcase for a year or two, because we would know what's coming. But now, we don't know what's coming. It's like PlayStation is still holding out for something. Is that something next year showcase? Is it a December showcase? We don't know. It's not like I'm too worried though. We all know that they're working on something. It's not like all of those studios are just sitting there counting their money. They're cooking, they're probably just not ready to reveal it just yet. So I say, let's let them cook, but I thought it was interesting to talk about nonetheless. So again, if you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like, a comment, or subscribe? If you want more from me, I also have a Twitter account where I live tweet events like these, and I just tweet my opinion on other stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video, all the support is greatly appreciated, and I hope to see you guys again soon.